The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our host are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of Raymond James. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc. And now, here are your hosts. Dan Sipe serves as a branch manager for Raymond James Financial Services and Serving Those Who Serve, and Katelyn Murray is a financial advisor through Raymond James Financial Services and Director of Advisory Services here at Serving Those Who Serve.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fed15 podcast, presented by your friends here at Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. So whether you're a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, Fed15 has you covered. So grab your coffee, your energy drink, your green juice, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but may have missed. We're your host. I'm Dan Sipe, and I'm joined by the exceptional and the extraordinary Katelyn Murray.
Hello, everybody. Back for another episode, and we have Dan Sipe, fresh off the wedding. Was it your youngest? Was it your youngest?
My oldest.
Your
oldest. Yep.
Exciting.
Yep.
Is this the first one to get married?
Yes,
wow.
It is.
First Sipe wedding.
Beautiful experience all the way around. Kind of surreal.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's my little boy. He's going to be a husband now, so that was a little bit strange. His wife is awesome. Their family's awesome, so it was a really great night. And it was a little bit off the beaten path in the sense that my son Colin, his nom de plume is Coach Viking. So he has, hair down to the middle of his back. Okay, a beard down to here. And so he's in school, he's in pre-med, but he also coaches young shot put discus throwers. And his team name is Viking Throws. So they went with the Viking theme.
Very cool.
So he had the undercut with the braids.
Jeez. Very
going
cool.
back, had the shovel beard cut in. Lyric had just some amazing braids down the back of her hair. And I had never heard them before that day, but in addition to their traditional vows to go along with the wedding, he had some Viking vows that I definitely want to get a copy of that. Because, he's talking about the tears of Freya that became diamonds and things like that. So it was a fun experience. I could have lived with 10 degrees warmer.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't outside.
January wedding, man.
But their venue is a refurbished 18th century barn. And there's only so much refurbishing you can do.
Barn.
To make one of those toasty when it's in the teens.
Yeah.
Last part of the night, though, that was really extraordinary. The venue has a professional fireworks license.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a 30-minute fireworks display.
That's cool.
At the end. Bride and groom were absolutely committed to getting great photos because they were out ankle deep in snow. Okay, with the photographer sitting on the ground shooting and catching the starburst and the chrysanthemums above them. So really looking forward to those. I think that's going to be pretty interesting.
Very cool. Yeah, you'll have to share those with me when you get them back from the photographer.
I will indeed.
Very cool.
Indeed. So what do we got up this week?
Well, we've got quite a bit. We've got a couple different things kind of on the roster for today. Dan is going to talk with us a bit later about age reduction penalties on the FERS pension. Now, that's an important topic that a lot of times, feds will come into our webinars with questions on that. And it's one of the big pieces that we educate about around FERS and kind of planning out your retirement date. But before we get to the FERS pension, I want to talk a little bit about Roth TSP. So, as you know, or maybe you don't know, you do have the option in your TSP to make either pre-tax contributions, meaning that your contributions go in without being taxed, or you can make Roth contributions, which means that your paycheck is taxed and then the contribution is debited from your paycheck and goes into the TSP. So you can either avoid taxes on the front end, pay taxes when you take the money out in retirement, or with the Roth situation, you can pay taxes up front. And then when you draw out both the principal and gains in that Roth TSP later on, it is totally tax-free. So a couple of things about the Roth TSP. Only employee contributions go into the Roth. So any government or agency matches that you're receiving, those are always going to be going into the pre-tax portion of the TSP. Now, unlike the Roth IRA, and this is a big misconception among feds, unlike the Roth IRA, there are no income restrictions when it comes to Roth TSP contributions. So even if you make too much, your AGI is too high to contribute directly to a Roth IRA, you can absolutely still make those Roth TSP contributions. There are no income restrictions there. The other thing I'll mention is, unlike the Roth IRA, in the Roth TSP, you have the full TSP maximum that you can put towards that Roth IRA or towards that Roth option rather, if you choose. In a Roth IRA, you're limited to $7,000 per year if you are under 50. So obviously, we're making after-tax contributions here. So in retirement, we're pulling money out tax-free with a Roth TSP. And then you are kind of focusing on long-term tax savings here. So if you're contributing to the Roth option in the TSP currently, then what you are betting is that your current tax rate is lower than what your tax rate in retirement will be. So you want to go ahead and pay those taxes now on the contributions so that you can access the contributions and gains tax-free in retirement. So that's a little refresher on how Roth TSP works. Now, if you are older than 50, you can actually contribute more than the annual limit to your TSP in general. A portion of that can be to the Roth option. All of that can be to the Roth option. Just as a reminder, that catch-up contribution is $7,500 in 2024. Now, thanks to Secure Act 2.0, starting in 2026, feds who make more than $145,000 will be actually required to put those catch-up contributions into the Roth option in their TSP. This was supposed to go into effect in 2024, but this legislation actually impacts both TSP and private retirement plans like 401ks. And in some of those 401ks, they don't have Roth options. It is possible to set up a 401k plan and only offer pre-tax deductions or contributions into the plan. And so because of that, that Secure 2.0 ruling had to get pushed back 2 years so that can kind of get ironed out. I often joke with clients and also kind of internally here that, when we get things like Secure Act passed, it would be great to have a financial planner in the room to weigh in on some of those.
That's crazy talk.
So the $145,000 earnings kind of limit, anything above that, catch-up contributions have to go into the Roth option in the TSP. If you made that much, obviously, in the prior tax year with the same employer, then you are going to be subject to that mandate. If you made some, like let's say you have your government job, but then you also have a part-time job and you're getting income from both, as long as the income that you get from your government job and your part-time job is less than $145,000, you're not affected by that mandate. But if the sum of them is higher, you would be affected. Now, if you made less than $145,000 and your spouse also made less than $145,000, neither of you are impacted because, again, this is on an individual basis. So even if you and your spouse's income together are higher than $145,000, as long as each of you independently are under that limit, then you should be okay to continue putting those catch-up contributions into the pre-tax option if you so choose. There may be a reason to put them into Roth, though. And if you're curious about that, you can attend our TSP webinar that we have, where we kind of talk through that. Also, our tax planning webinar, we get into that a lot there. Or you can always reach out to us for a consultation at ask.stws@stwserve.com. So Dan, that's Roth TSP. Do you want to talk with us a little bit about FERS? I know this is a particular favorite topic of yours.
I'm going to amplify a little bit. Article by our own benefits Ben. Loves the alliteration FERS Things First because We don't want you losing out. I want to stress that. We don't want you losing out. When you give your life to public service, number one, you should at least understand your benefits. And that's why we exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Our content side is dedicated to that. It's all free. Sneak into the middle of the night. Take all you want. Okay. But
We left
also,
the door unlocked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But also apply that knowledge. So, for example, and I'm going to assume that most people know this, but in case you don't, a Fed can retire on an immediate unreduced pension at MRA, minimum retirement age, which could be 57, for example, with 30 years. And you're fine. Out the door you go. Now, there's some things you'll need to consider there because you're going to have 5 years of no cost of living adjustments, things like that. But that's a different conversation for another day. You can also go out at age 60 with 20 years or at 62 with 5 years. Okay. But we do run into situations where people are going for health reasons, whatever, I got to get out. And then there's an MRA plus 10. But if you're going before age 62, you are reducing your pension for life by 5% per year for every year under 62. So if we go back to the age 57, that's a 25% hit. Ouch. Ouch. So there are a couple of things that you might consider as an alternative to that. And there are deferred retirement and postponed retirement. And they are not the same. You cannot use them interchangeably. So in a deferred retirement, you're leaving federal service before reaching that mix of time and MRA. Okay, if you have at least 5 years of service, you can collect the pension at 62. With at least 20 years of service, you can collect at 60 or 61, but there are reductions. Okay, if you collect at 60, it's a permanent 10% reduction. I don't like that. If you collect 61, it's a permanent 5% reduction. I don't like that either. So you need to keep that in mind. Now let's talk a little bit about postponed retirement. And when you do deferred, you're saying goodbye to your benefits and you're never going to get them back. Okay, so FEHB, when that pension starts, you're not going to have your FEHB anymore. Postpone means that you've hit your age and service requirements, but you don't necessarily want to take a reduction or something like that. And at that point, you can postpone your pension until 62, start to claim it, but you can reinstate your FEHB. Now, I'm not going to expect you from a simple podcast to remember all of this and chart your life by it. Just remember that we've got the backup articles for this. We've got the webinars. We've got other in-depth podcasts in that main website, which is our content hub. Okay. Feds, that should be your homepage. Do we have a fiduciary financial planning group? 100%. And if somebody wants to talk to us about that, we're thrilled. But you don't have to. Right. And more importantly, we reinvest our proceeds back into producing all this content that's going to help every Fed everywhere. So by all means, take advantage of that. It is there for you. Mm-hmm. And the other thing you'll see in Benefits Ben's article, which is my personal favorite, has nothing to do with reductions. It has to do with an enhancement. I am all in favor of getting more. I like more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Folks, don't sleep on the age 62 retirement age with at least 20 years. If you've got at least 20 years of service and you're thinking about going out at age 60, okay, you could be leaving almost $85,000 on the table. So take a look at Ben's article. And the reason for that is if you wait until 62 and you've got at least 20 years, the whole pension gets a 10% bump for life. The whole thing. That also means your survivorship has a 10% bump. So again, I want you to get everything that you are supposed to get out of choosing to serve the public trust. So take a moment, go through that. If you're not familiar with the website, go in, hit that search bar, just start typing stuff in. You'll be amazed how many pages of things come up for you. But
absolutely. And that article title again is FERS Things First. If you're looking there, I really would encourage folks to
to go in and take a look at that one specifically. We actually do the math in that article. Less engaging to listen to on a podcast, but take a look at the article. That's why we're not getting out our financial calculators and running through. Yeah, but it is really important, right? Dan means what he says when we did the math. You could be leaving upwards of $85,000 on the table, depending on what your current annual salary and what your high 3 looks like. So I think for today, though, that is all the time that we have. But you know that we will be back next week to bring you all the latest updates that you need to make informed decisions, not just decisions, but informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed.
And be sure to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you are, so you never miss an episode. And please share this with your friends and colleagues. This is just a real easy way to dip a toe in, to start learning about your benefits so that you get what you're supposed to get.
Absolutely. And for more information on the topics covered in today's show and more, be sure to check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. You can also subscribe to our newsletter while you're there, the weekly serving, to get all the latest news for Feds delivered straight to your inbox every week. And I love Dan's suggestion to make STW Serve your homepage. We are putting out new content every day. There's always something to look into there. Podcast episodes, blog articles, we've got 2 different podcasts for you. So definitely look into that as well.
And don't forget about our complimentary webinars every single month. Have a couple coming up that you probably shouldn't miss. On February 15th from 1 until 4, we've got our incredibly popular financial planning webinar. Yes, we're a financial planning firm. You know what we're doing? We're giving a free webinar on financial planning. That sounds nutty, doesn't it? It is. So don't miss out on it. Okay. And then on February 21st, from 11 until 2, we've got our long-term care planning webinar. There's a whole lot that's going into this now, folks. We're patiently waiting for the end of the calendar year to come and federal long-term care insurance partners open back up. So you want to make sure that you're hitting some of these webinars that you are prepared. Forewarned is forearmed.
Absolutely. And of course, if you do prefer a one-on-one approach, if you're looking for a true partner, a Fed-focused financial advisor to help you with financial planning and investment management, you can always reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation at AskSTWServe at STWServe.com. We will be there for you. All right, folks. Thanks for listening to the Fed15. That's all we've got for today. We got to run. But I am Katelyn Murray.
And I am Dan Sipe.
And we will see you next week.